Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today we are going to make sorry. We are going to make a video where I will be talking about demagogues and extremists and how they work. And I'm going to give you a couple of clues if you don't know. But whatever I say today, please fact check me. Okay, always fact check everything you listen to, and don't fact check in things like X and other media platforms, go straight to the source. Good source would be even your local library. Why not? Now, you see the rise of so-called populist movements. What are populist movements? There are movements appealing to the lower common denominator of people's emotions, needs, and worries. They act according to the crowd they are trying to please. But they always have a narrative. Whatever type of, let me be clear about this, okay? The far right does this, the far left does this, the neo-capitalists do this, the neo-communists do this, the religious folks do this. Absolutely everyone does this. You know, if you go back as far as Rome, the prince, you know him as the Caesar, as the emperor, would distribute food and entertainment to the people to control them. Okay, so this is nothing new. This is nothing we should not know about. It is something that has always happened. Now, how do they act? Okay, this is the classic movement. This is what is happening, for example, in the UK and in the US. They blame those that are different from the main group in society. So, when it comes to racism, for example, every human group can be racist. Black people can be racist, Asian people can be racist, white people can be racist. It's not an exclusive of any group. My example, you look at me. I am I have a couple of things that are not exactly the same, but I'm exactly the same as any other white Caucasian Portuguese. You see me in the street, yeah, this guy looks like anyone. But because I was slightly different, sorry, because my way of acting was slightly different, because I spoke German with my grandfather, I was a target of racism. And I'm white. So if you are a black person and you think only black people are targeted by racism, you are sadly mistaken. Okay? And you should not think like that. And you should not act like that with people. If a person is racist to you, you will know it. So, first things first, you know you are talking with someone that endured that, okay? And that never denied who you was or where you came from, and that has absolutely no issues about it. That simply does not do to others what they did to me, because that brings you no satisfaction. None at all. Only more hatred. Now, let's continue. As I was saying, these people tell you what you want to hear and making you agree with things. I will give you this example. We in Portugal here, we also have issues with immigration. Does it need to be strictly controlled? Does the government need to do what they are currently doing, controlling it more? getting rid of people who are not here to work or to escape persecution or whatever? Yes, he does. Yes, the government needs to do that. Yes, we need to bar the entry to people. Yes, we need to not be the final destination for whoever enters from the world. Of course. But let me tell you this. Does that mean you are simply going to bar the entry to everyone? Okay. Who will do the jobs that we need to be done, that we need to maintain our society? Who will do them? Our industrial capability is growing. Our tourism industry is growing. The government did not take adequate measures to increase birth rate. Right now, it's more or less getting on track, but it will take a lot of time. So, for the foreseen future, say 20, maybe 40 years, we are going to need migrant labor. We are going to need people that want to come here earn their money and go back, or even people that want to come here and settle here. We are going to need them. This is logic. And even if you don't like it, and I would agree with you, there are some type of group of people, and I'm not going to say my opinion because I am not a racist. And if I said I don't like this group or that group, I would be being a racist when you should not interpret this as targeting groups, but targeting people. If I make myself clear, there are people that we do not need here. We do not need more idiots to join the battalion of idiots we have around here and that every country has. Okay? We don't need that. We don't need people that do not adapt to our way of living, our democratic ideas, our freedom and personal freedom ideas. Those people, they do not interest me at all. They can pack their bags and go back where they came from. And I don't care if they're white, yellow, polka dot pink. I don't give a crap about that shit. Because biology tells you how people are, how they are. Okay, if they were not the same species as you would not be able to breed them. I don't care. It's biology, my friends. Biology, logic, science. Okay, you know science. You know what science is. Okay, now, but we were talking about. We were talking. Sorry, just a little intermezzo here. We were talking about the tactics demagogues use in order to control you. Okay, the first thing they do is identify easy targets, easy lies, things like immigrants are taking your jobs. Immigrants are making your streets more unsafe. And there is always a bottom of truth in this. Because in some cases, yes, employers are preferring to employ migrants, immigrants, and yes, in some cases, they are making some streets less safe. But we are generalizing. So, for example, if you have immigrants that do not know how to behave properly according to the rules of our society, then yes, you will have issues. How do you solve this? First of all, you do what I was telling you. You block the entry of people that you know that won't fit in. I'm not saying to turn away people that are political refugees. No, you have to divide things. You have to divide. You have to call political refugees people that you invite to save their lives to live in your country mostly temporarily, and you have to divide them from the economical migrants that want to work and earn money. Okay? But so both of these affirmations are true. But now, why are the immigrants taking your job? Number one, you might not want to do it. Number two, you might not want to do it for example, the minimum salary, like we have here in Portugal, and it's much better for you to just sit back and enjoy your severance pay from the state, work for a couple of months, and then go back to the same system. In that case, you are to blame because it is you that do not wish to do that job, or is it, or maybe the job is not adequate to to your qualifications or to what you want to do with your life. All of that is possible. Now, but also the state might be benefiting companies to do that. If the state, for example, tells the companies, look, if you employ people locally, you will get a tax decrease. For each worker you have, you will receive this amount of money in your taxes. So the state can correct it. So you do not blame the immigrant, you blame the state. Safety in the streets, same thing. People need to be educated. People need to understand how they need to behave around here. In most of our country, a woman can walk around perfectly safe. Go to the Middle East or India. Understand the difference? This is the difference. So what do you do? First of all, first sign of trouble with any of these people, kick them out. Don't let them come in again. It's draconian, but it works. Before that, educate them. No? Take your time to educate people, to make them understand how the law works, to make them understand how things work. And this is simple enough. Make them take a course. Why not? What are you losing with it? Take action, like for example, right now, you can only come here if you already have a job waiting for you, if you have a work contract waiting for you. This is basically the only way. This is why a lot of people are being removed or are being told, look, leave. Okay? This is around here things are not ice raids breaking into the house of people and taking them away. No. If you are found illegally here, you are taken to a judge or equivalent entity, but not only it's a judge. The judge explains you what's this, you explain yourself, and then he decrees that you are expelled. And they basically tell you, look, do you want to leave voluntarily or not? If you say no, you get escorted basically to the airport, and you get kicked out of the country. If you say yes, I want to leave voluntarily, he or her. We have male and female judges, mostly male right now, mostly female right now, I think. Okay, you can leave. And that person has, I don't know, 3 months, I think, or 1 month, something like that, to take care of all its business and go back. If the person decides to go voluntarily, he can go back and then try to enter the country again. And if, for example, that person, meanwhile, excuse me, please, if that person, for example, meanwhile, gets a work contract or is able to have a perfectly legal situation here, the person can re-enter, apply, and go through the motions and enter legally. If not, I don't know how is the law right now, but I think right now you can be barred from a minimum of 3 years, I believe, to a maximum of ad eternum, forever. So you always give an option to the person, because that can be anyone. That can be your next door neighbor that heard you could earn a lot of money across the river in the other country, and Mike from the coffee shop told him, "Look, you come with me, my friend. You go earn some serious money, and then you can come back. No one is going to catch you, okay? Or look, you're starving here, my friend. Get your stuff. Let's go. We're going to try to work over there." Oh, and instead of going to the proper channels, that in this case would be, for example, go to an employment agent or whatever. There are plenty of them in a newspaper or whatever. And look, we need 30 people to work in farming in Portugal. You want to come? Come on. And you go to the employee company. Will say, look, you are going to earn this much. We are going to charge you this for our services. Okay. You need to bring us this paper, this document, this whatever. And then you go to the embassy, you present all the documents. Usually it's even the employment company itself that does it. Sometimes, depending on the country where you come from, you need an interview. And the embassy looks over the paperwork. If everything is alright, gives you a stamp, my friend. And you can enter, you go to work, you go earn your money, and then you can go back home. Or if you want to settle here and if you fill the requirements, you might be able to or not. And it's not that hard. And this is how things should work. And this is something that in the US, governments, successive governments, not just this one, have failed to do. You have a very odd idea of what freedom and what nationality is. For example, the idea that you are not required to have the proper documents when you are driving. I know it's not in all states, but driving without the driver's license, or the policeman, instead of you blow here, no, in the odometer. I don't know how you call it in English, but here we call it the balloon. It's a little machine that sees how much alcohol there is in your system. You are not. You are. If you refuse, you know what? I will tell you this. This one is interesting. Interesting, especially if you're an American, even if you ever come here to Portugal or to tourism here, or whatever. The police brings out the apparatus and tells you, blow here as hard as you can. Has a little straw, individual straw for each utilization. It comes in a package. He puts it in, you blow, and it's not. Will you please blow? Will you please roll in the machine? It's a you must do it. If you refuse, you are taken to the hospital for a blood draw. If you refuse the blood draw, then you go before the judge and you will get the maximum penalty foreseen in the law for driving under the influence, plus whatever crime you have committed, starting with the crime of disobedience, against a public officer because you refuse to follow the orders of the police. No, you don't get beaten or walk this line or whatever. No, drugs and alcohol, it's like this. No, this is an example of how things can be done. If the government simply issues this law and says it's mandatory to obey this, easy. You know from the start, if you do not do this, you are committing a crime. Simple as that. And if you do, like we do, but this is another story that we would need to develop according to the type of law that you have. But if at the start the citizen knows exactly what their rights are, then no excuses. You don't need to go guns blazing and get on the floor. Let's not go there. But let's continue with the part of the demagogues. But this part that I was talking about, it's important so that we understand that everything a demagogue says always has some truth in it. But it's the way that truth is presented. So, like I told you, of course, if you have more immigrants, of course, streets will be more unsafe. Yes, they will. Jobs will be less available. Yes, they will. But you need to understand the why and the who allows them to come in. So you won't address your hatred to the immigrant. No. You will address your hatred to the government, to the party that is in power, that is allowing this situation. And if it's more than one party, then it's one or more than one party. And you tell them, look, my friends, what the hell are you doing? This and this and this and this is happening. Solve it quickly. Stop it. And you vote them out. But you don't go and vote in the matter that is guiding you through his narrative, like, for example, it happened in the US. People voted out of hatred. But that hatred was caused not only by the demagogue that led them on, but also for the party in power. I have said this again and I will say it again as long as it's needed. Kamala Harris is a competent person. She would be a good candidate, but she was not the candidate that the Democrats needed. Because when you are faced with a sexist, liar, demagogue that calls upon the lowest denominator and that you know that all the zealots will run and vote, you give them something similar in the other side, except someone that speaks in that type of language, in that way. I'm not saying says the same things, but that calls the lies. You would need someone strong. You would need someone with enough strength. For example, whenever Trump would start with I saw some of the debates with whenever he would start with his usual blah 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 blah, you would have a man. And I'm sorry to say this, but sorry, but it's like this. You would have a man looking at him. You know, this is look. Whenever you see someone trying to offend you, doing this, it's the worst thing you can do to a person like that. Or just doing this, stone face. You deconstruct a demagogue. You deconstruct the lies. You constantly pound them with the truth. I love history, okay? And I love the history, especially from both my countries, Portugal and Germany. Both my countries ethnically, let's call it like this. But of course, I'm more Portuguese, you know. We've been here for many generations. But my culture is what is my culture. But did you see, for example, how the posters of Hitler were when he was still buying the votes, getting the votes from the populace? There was one poster that immediately caught my eye. You would have the other posters of the other parties, and only the communists would also use the same method. Funny. But you looked at this poster and it's the face of Hitler with his piercing blue eyes, this that very, you know, updated, upgraded dream like this in a black background. And underneath it, vote Hitler. This appeals to the lowest denominator. You look at that face and you see a face that is strong, a hard hammer that will hit down. And look at yourself. People going through the biggest economic downfall of their entire history. People living after an humiliating defeat. People seeing rich oligarchs still getting the money. And most of them were not even Jews. But that is the target they chose. Jews and communists. Okay? Look at Stalin. He looks like some kind of benefactor god distributing the wealth of the revolution to the people. Often portrayed in a white navy coat, shiny mustache, the hat always straight. The idea of composure, Stalin, the man of steel. Okay, you look at Trump, a tanned orange man, but he looks like Grandpa from the beach. A smart guy. Yo, the good businessman, the guy that's sitting there and always invests in the real thing. You look at Boris Johnson in the UK, you know, the guy down in the pub with the scruffy blonde hair that's always laughing and having a pint and let's go, let's do this, come on, let's go. Again, and I know I said this in a lot of my streams and videos. If a politician makes me laugh and says all the things I want to listen to, and is kind of that person that I would like to have a pint with, a beer, having a party, whatever, I don't vote in him or her. Nope. I vote in those politicians that are so boring, you know, like I made this comment some time ago and everyone laughed, but I was being honest. The like when you are a young and foolish and you go on a binge party of alcohol and girls and doing all sorts of dumbass things. You arrive too late at home, and mom tells you you need to pray for those sins. and you to smooth the way. You get up in the morning, you take a shower, and you go at here it's Sunday, and you go to Sunday mass and appear to look very penitent. I would rather go through that than vote in any of those people. No, if that person incites that feeling inside me, I will vote for them because it's the boring ones, the boring bureaucrats, the harsh and boring generals that will be at the border. Those are the type of people that you want in power because they will be very much bureaucratically obeying the constitution and doing things. No, you cannot put that wire there. That wire must come here because that is what the constitution says. You understand? Those type of people, those types of people know this paper is not properly filled. You did not put an x in square A, you put in square B. You have to do it all over again. Those are the people that you want. You don't want the flashy idiots that tell you the narrative you want to hear. If they don't tell you the truth, if they don't, for example, if a politician says, I am going to get this economy to be as the best in the world, and you say, well, how are you going to do it? Like I told you, I'm going to make this economy the best in the world. And yes, how are you going to do it? Okay, we have this amount of inflation, we have this, we have that. How are you going to correct all of this? Tell me, please. I am going to make this the best economy of the world. Don't vote for them. You Americans voted for Trump, you know, because apparently he's a very religious man. I don't know that. I don't think so. At least he does not seem very pious or moral. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to be a dictator day one and blah 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 and blah blah blah. And you all have laughed. Ha 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 ha. Oh, how droll, how droll. Well, nah, he's just kidding. Of course, he's not going to do that. But we are going to vote just to see them liberal tears. Yeah, boy. And then you have the idiots in the Democratic side laughing at them. Oh my God, how obnoxious, how dumb they are, oh, how primitive. Both sides are wrong. And this is how demagogues live in this descent, this in a in a society that is at peace with itself. These people they have no hunting grounds. You want to know why the extremists are still winning seats in the UK? Because the Prime Minister Keir Starmer did not address the consequences of leaving the EU, of Brexit. They still have not admitted the elephant in the room. None of them. Not even most of the people. And there are so many good streamers, YouTubers from the UK. I'll give you an example. Regan Lead, All Shorts, that German fellow, Mark Singer. So many, the two Davies. So many people, so many of them incessantly talking about this. There are even people in the UK, people that are people that are known, characters, people in the bloody country, speaking of this, telling them, look, stop with this. You put a border between us and Europe. Do you know what happened to the UK? The UK used to be the gateway into Europe. Why? Because it was already a trading hub, because Everyone speaks English, you know, and because they had connections all over Europe. They have connections in Portugal, in Spain, in France, in Germany, in Russia, everywhere. And what did the British did? They put a door. To open that door, you need a key, paperwork. Do you know what happens to money? Money is like water. It flows where it's least is least subjected to obstacles. So what happened is what is happening right now. All that investment is going directly to Europe. Because guess what? Look at me. I'm speaking English. Oh my God. Almost everyone under 50 or 60 in Portugal speaks English, for God's sakes, or understands it. Most people here speak two more languages than their own, and they understand a couple of others. As I told you before, won't go over it again, I speak more than that. But that is me. The average usually they speak plus English and French, Castilian, you know, some Italian, German. German, I think, is the third most spoke language or something like that. You know, so you come here to Portugal and you see this guy can speak English. I'm going to make my business here. He can run my office here. We can communicate in English. I can learn some Portuguese too, so that my business progresses quickly. You go to France, you do the same thing, especially because the French, if you try to speak English with them, they will turn at you and say, Je ne te comprends pas. Sorry. Excusez-moi, moi j'ai aussi un peu de français en moi. Okay? Yeah. And, you know, and demagogues are still progressing in the UK. Why? Because the problems are still there. Because food is still very expensive. Because energy is still very expensive. And because no one, people are still blaming the migrants and the immigrants. That did not stop coming. Because the EU has no business with it. So if an immigrant goes to the UK, it's the UK's problem. No, we deal with our problems. We don't deal with the problems of the UK. The UK is not part of the group. It does not contribute because we pay to have this service. We pay a whole deal. You know, I got more money last year from my job, and this year I will be paying taxes to the state. I won't be receiving none. Okay, taxes here are harsh, man. Americans say, "Oh, you have free health care, you have free vacation." Free what, you dumb ape? I pay for it in my taxes. I think, for example, Denmark. I think it's the country with the highest taxes. But you want to know why we pay taxes? We don't get annoyed that we pay taxes. We get annoyed when our taxes are misused. And here in Portugal, for example, one of the greatest issues right now is the way our taxes are being misused. Misused, they are not investing properly in things like healthcare and other stuff, and we are pissed, and we are voting them out, my friend. No, and the previous guys are trying to blame the poor bastards that were here only from March, since March. They are trying to blame them, March last year. They are trying to blame them for the problems they have, and they are being punished in the polls, and they are going to be even more punished in the voting booth. Because you have to understand this. When a demagogue says, "I have the solution," I am the Messiah, they are lying to you. You never, ever believe in a person like that. You don't you don't try to prove their narrative. Because, like I told you, you will always find a bottom of truth. Because these are true issues in society: immigration, criminality, healthcare, employment, you know, climate change. All of this are real things that are really happening. The issue here is who you blame for it. I have friends that are a bit more extremist in both sides, of left and right. And whenever the leftists start to, we usually don't talk about politics, okay? We talk about we talk about our love life. We talk about sports. We talk about philosophy. We talk about a lot of things. Some of them like to talk about cars. Me, not so. Sorry, it's my allergies. But whenever my leftist friends start telling me about, oh, this is all they are fascists and they are saying this and saying that, I look at them and say, don't call them fucking fascists. Call them idiots. If they are talking about something they don't understand, then they are idiots. And you are an idiot because you are saying the same thing, just in the other side of the spectrum. And when the fascists start to tell me this, I say, why are you blaming the immigrants? Blame the government that let them in. You blame the source of the problem. So when Mr. Farage starts saying, "Oh, Labour, they left them in," and do you know what? In this, I'm going a bit off topic, but I'm going to say this. Do you know what is the first thing Mr. Starmer should have done when he got into power, even at the cost of a lot of Brexiter voters that voted for the bloody thing and that was still supporting, God knows why. He should have told them this. This country, this country is going to sink if we do not compromise with Europe. If we don't stop this shit, if we don't comply with the TCA for now, and then try to meet the criteria or the Copenhagen criteria, and start discussing with Europe, with the UK, and not with France, Germany, Spain. Like he even came here, not like that. Discussing with Europe, with the EU, how we can solve this. How can the UK either, and this is a process that if the UK decided today that it wanted to re-enter, like I explained this in another video I did about the TCA, maybe I will do another one so people finally understand it. If the UK today decided collectively we want to join the EU and not rejoin does not exist, neither legally nor politically. First of all of the political forces, or at least 99% of them, would have to agree. Second, they would had to be willing to put a clause in their fundamental text, constitution, whatever, saying that the UK would never leave the EU again. In that way. There are other ways, there are other situations, but this is the second one. The third one would be to ask if the EU was willing to listen to them. And the UK would lose nothing. For now, what could the UK do? First of all, stop with this discourse. Stick with the EU. The UK could be part of the EU's flagships, like Horizon, for example, until 2027. For now, that would be the first thing. Start contributing to the budget of the flagship and enter that system. Thirdly, go into the law and start adapting or making equivalences in UK law to meet EU law. And thirdly, diminish the paperwork on your side. For example, meet with your representatives and tell them, look, uh, we are going to accept EU goods here, and since we want you to accept UK goods in your country, then we, the UK, we are going to set up a system that is as simple as this, as paying. Remember this: the UK will always have to pay this. Pay, for example, for to have a system, a physical system inside of the UK to monitor the quality of the food to follow, for example, or the rules of origin. Would this be hard? Of course. Would this be expensive? Yes. But would it compensate? Yes, because you would be able to trade almost as normal as before. Do the same things, except, for example, the entry of EU nationals with just their ID card. Because most of us don't have passport because we don't need it. We only have passports to travel across the world. You know, why would I go to the border of spending 30 euros in a passport here just to go to the UK when I can grab my ID card and travel from here to Poland, to Croatia, to Greece, and on other countries around the EU that accept our ID cards? Why would I do that? You understand? It makes no sense. This is why school trips and all of that, and students going to the UK in some cases completely disappear. You know, because it does not compensate. And this is what demagogues do. Now they are telling people in the US that the price of eggs and all of this, it's all the immigrants' fault, and that the president is doing the best he can. No, he is not. He's doing a mudslinging of this shit. He's destroying your country. And even if tomorrow he leaves, you will be dealing with the backlash of this shit for decades. Decades. 10, 20, 30, 40 years. You will be dealing with this because you have to understand our part. How can we trust you? You know? And why is this all happening? Because you you bent the knee to demagogues. You bent you bent it your knee to the demagogues. You got a kick in the ass and you said, sir, thank you, sir, may I have some more, sir? This is why I am always telling this. No, I tell this constantly to my nephews, my young nephews. I always tell them, boys, you have to sing for yourself. This is why in my streams, in my videos, I'm constantly telling people, please fact check me. But fact check me from real sources. Because I might be mistaken. I might say something that might not be interpreted correctly, since I'm not speaking my mother tongue. And even if I speak English, I sometimes fail, of course. You know, I might be tired, whatever. I might confuse a word in English with German or whatever. You know, a million things can happen. And when it comes to demagogues, you will recognize them because they will be speaking exactly the words you want to listen to. And if you are a religious person, then you will know, beware of false prophets. Do you know what this means? This means of people in the classic religious uh, Abrahamic religions. This would mean, this would mean that an antichrist or whatever, or a bad person, a bad prophet, will not tell you the truth. He will tell you what you want to listen to. like a snake whispering in your ears words of tender love and care, like a salesman trying to pitch you a good that he wants to sell you and say, "This is the best car of the world, my friend. Come on, take the opportunity." You are being naive idiots. You need to use logic and law against these people. Don't vote in these people. Look for the most boring politician. Look at that guy, that girl that you know is going to go there and be absolutely bureaucratically crushing and grinding everything to be as the law says. You want someone defending your borders. You don't go at the flashy general that dances around in the cameras and has a nice smile. You go for that bastard with the Nazi face that you know will stand in the border, and whenever anyone wants to enter, he will say, Nein, raus. You understand? These images, these euphemisms that I'm using, because you know that boring politician will do his job. And the demagogue will push things for his own gain, because that is their purpose. The end of the game here, my friends, the end game of power is profit. And you Americans, at least if you are listening carefully, you know how much money they have been earning. You know, $300 million for the president's protection during his cough trips. 0% for FEMA. This is the latest example, my friend. I'm outside of the US. I'm I'm not even looking very closely inside that cesspool because every week it's the same crap, the same events. And you are there and you are not seeing them. You have access to the internet. You have? Good. I will recommend you a couple of newsreels. If you understand German, watch German news. If you understand English, okay, try France 24. That I went going back to Portuguese. France 24 English, and try Euronews. They are effing boring, but very clear. If you understand Portuguese or Castilian Spanish, like you call it, you know, try RTP1 in Portugal, okay, and try, for example, TVE in Spain. Try the Italian news. Try Rai. Try Irish news. The UK, not so much. The the news outlets are completely contaminated by these people. They are completely controlled by other forces. You can count them by the fingers. How many of them are doing actual news and not this show. Don't let yourself be fooled by demagogues. Don't let yourself be fooled by easy narratives that are only saying what you want to hear. You want to hear that. You want to hear someone telling you everything will be rosy. You will have a job, the streets will be clean, you will have a fat pay every day. Nothing of that, nothing will change. Everything will be the same. Everything will be absolutely perfect, like you don't even remember it was once. This is how Putin got into power. This is how Donald Trump got into power. This is like how Viktor Orban got in power. narratives, stories, bedtime stories, and even smart people got fooled. You know, in the UK, a lot of smart people believed in it. And as I told you, I do not like Schadenfreude. I do not like to mock people because that is not correct. But I cannot also sit back and listen to people trying to excuse themselves with bad excuses. No. Like Marcus Aurelius said, when you commit a mistake, it is only called a mistake if you don't admit it first to yourself, and then first you don't even have to talk about it. If you admit that you made a mistake and you said, I should have not voted for that person. This was wrong of me. I need to correct myself. You admit your mistake. And then you try to correct it. You don't vote for that person. You vote in the opposite party to get rid of him, for example. Or you don't support their policies. Or if, for example, in the United States, if they try to do this and do that, you support movements that go against it, you know? You sue them. You don't cooperate with them. You don't watch the news outlets that support them. You don't buy products from the companies that support them. This is called non-violence. This is called non-violence cooperation, you know? This is the principle of civil disobedience. Civil disobedience does not have to be violent. In fact, in my opinion, this is my personal opinion, violence solves nothing because violence is doing exactly the same thing the other side will do, and you have to be the opposite. This is why I told you that if you had a candidate that was talking with Trump, and then every time he said something, you will, you know, or stone face. This is what I mean, because it's very easy to be violent. But then you'll be just, they say, see, I told you they were violent. I told you they were after us. We need to protect ourselves. Come near me, drink the Kool-Aid, drink the Kool-Aid. For God's sakes. You guys in the US, in the UK now, I'm talking with you because you are near us. You guys need to wake up. I mean it. You guys seriously need to wake up. And you have to remember this. You won't be able to solve all of these problems. You won't be able to recuperate what you had. But if you stop now, if you stop this now and you start working towards correcting things, it will take much less time to be in a normal place again. We go back to the same thing. Emotions. Emotions lie to us. Logic and facts do not lie to us. When you are faced with a situation, having emotions towards that, for example, if someone calls you names, it's natural for you to feel offended. You do not fight that feeling. But instead of acting up on it, you need to be smart about it and you need to just stop, think, and do the proper thing. Which most times is just turn your back and not worth it, for example. I speak a lot about myself and about my life experience, and this is something I was taught in martial arts. The first rule is to avoid the conflict. Don't go into that street. Use your legs to move away. Second is to use your words, and only when that does not work, you use your skills. And it's not like in the movies. And any person that knows how to defend himself or herself will tell you that a fight does not take minutes, it takes seconds. It's over in the flash of a movement. And if you think that because now I'm a bit overweight, I am slow, or even with some sickness that I have now, I'm not. And this is another lesson that you should also take. Never judge a book by its cover. So you in America, never assume that your Mexican friend, sorry, he can be your friend, that your loud Mexican neighbor is automatically a bad person. If he's too loud for the town, you just go there, hey neighbor, I'm sorry, I don't know how things are in your country, but here after 9 o'clock, we need to rest, my friend. I need to sleep. This is the first thing you do. And if he understands, he understands. If he doesn't understand, look, hey cops, this guy won't stop making any noise. For example, this is what I do. I don't I don't talk with people like this. I don't care. If you go down that road, you are only wasting your energy. Because when someone has a bad attitude, it's useless to argue with them. You are wasting your time, you are wasting their time, and you are wasting the universe's time. Okay? So please, don't fall for these narratives of the demagogues. Don't fall for it. I know. Yeah, I have tried to explain this to you. There is always a bottom of truth in it, but they are interpreting it to bring you to their side. And to their side, it means it's good for them, it's not good for you. Well, sorry for the long video, but this was kind of stuck in here and I needed to make a video about this. Okay? Thank you for listening in.